And we are back. Power rankings, NFL Week 9. Get right into it. At number 32, going down a spot, we have the 1-6 Tennessee Titans. Now, the Titans, they suck. We're just going to keep it simple. 52-14 to the Lions. The Lions dominated on every single side of the ball, offense, defense, and even special teams. The Titans just did not look like a great team, and I think it's time to start considering tanking for them. And unfortunately, that also might mean moving on from Will Levis. So, yeah. At number 31, we have the Panthers, who are going down a spot. 28-14. However, one of those touchdowns was in garbage time, so it was really 28-7. And the Panthers just aren't a great team, right? The Titans look like they have a better roster. However, I feel like these two teams are just really bad that you can honestly put them either way, and I don't think anyone would really complain. I think they're very similar in terms of, one team has the better players, the other team has the better coach, and, well, Panthers can go at 31, while the Raiders can go at number 32-6, down 2 spots. The Panthers are 1-7, by the way. The Raiders fell to the Chiefs in a score that was 27-20. And it sucks to say this as well, but I think we might need to have the talk of Antonio Pierce might need to get fired, because as much as I love him, it does not look like he is a great coach. It looks like Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, neither of them are going to be the future. So it might be best to move on from them now. I do believe the Raiders will still have a chance, because 6 losses, you never know what could happen in the NFL. However, it is so unlikely that, you can never count out Minshew magic as well. So, 29, we have the Dolphins down 3 spots. They ended up losing their game. I don't remember the score, but it was a game winner. Well, for them, game loser to the Cardinals, 28-27. Now, this was Tua's return game, so we'll give him slack that, he just came off of a concussion. He's probably not going to be the best immediately. So we'll give them that pass. And I do believe they will have a chance to turn it around. They only have 5 losses compared to teams with 6 or 7. So they still do have an opportunity. I just think, they're going to have to do it fast, or, it might just be best to count your season out. And what sucks for the Dolphins is they have a great roster as well. So, ending with this early pick is really going to suck, because you're going to be wasting one of Tua's final cheap years. I believe this is his final rookie deal year. 28, we have the G-Men, the Giants, down 3 spots. They ended up losing 26-18 to the Steelers on Monday night in a game that was, up until the very end, all field goals. The Giants were actually keeping up with the Steelers, and then the Steelers kind of started to pull away because they were able to score touchdowns. The Giants came back, but they fell just short at the end. So the Giants did show a lot of potential going against a top defense in them and putting up 18 points and, keeping pace with them. But fortunately, they weren't able to get it done, and I do believe, the Giants at this point might want to also start looking towards tanking. 27, we have the Jets, who are going to be going down 3 spots. 26, we have the Patriots, who are going to be up 3 spots. The Patriots ended up beating the Jets 22-17 in a game where the Jets probably should have won, but they didn't. The Patriots ended up stealing the win in the final minute, and, well, a big issue for the Patriots was Drake May did end up getting injured, so curious to see if they're going to put him in again next game, if he's able to play, or if they're going to roll with the guy who led the comeback in Jacoby Brissett. Either way, both these teams are looking very bad. However, one was expected and the other wasn't. So, great job, Patriots, for, picking up that win. And Jets, what is happening? 25, we have the Jaguars up 2 spots. Now, the Jaguars did end up losing their game 30-27 off a game winner to the Packers. However, what we need to talk about is the fact that they were shut out in that first half, essentially. They were able to score, I believe, a field goal or 2, but they were able to hold the Packers. Even though the Packers were dominating in stats, the Packers never really once that game pulled away. And the Jaguars, even though they weren't, keeping up stat-wise, they were score-wise. So You have to respect that from the Jaguars. They showed a lot of fight against a great team. And, well, the Jaguars, like I said, they have 6 losses, so it will be an uphill battle, but I would not count them out, especially if they're able to get their, quarterback coach situation figured out. 24, we have the Browns going up 8 spots. They picked up a 29-24 upset win over the Ravens. Now, what we also have to talk about is the fact that they almost lost that game. Jameis Winston threw a dropped interception, so, thankful for that, Browns fans. But you could just kind of tell that this team was way different. They actually showed fight. They were able to get yards, points. Deshaun Watson, you can really tell, was holding that team back. And, well, it sucks because they have 6 losses, because I guarantee if Jameis Winston was starting earlier on in the season, we could be talking about a Browns team who is, maybe 3-4, 3-5 right now. Or, better than they are now. But, they're going to have an uphill battle, especially in one of the toughest divisions of the AFC North in football. So, good luck, Cleveland. You're going to need it. 23, we have the Saints going down a spot. The Saints ended up falling yet again. This time, I don't remember who it was against. 26-8 to the Chargers. Now, the Saints season is over, right? It ended once Derek Carr got injured. Unfortunately for Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener, I believe his name is. Your season's over. With that Carr injury, all your fighting chance went out the window. So, good luck to next season. There's not much to talk about. This team is ridiculed with injuries, so they do get a pass for this season, in my opinion. A team who's not is 22. Them boys down 2 spots. Now, you're going to notice the score of this game is 30-24. That score is inflated. That game, even though the score was close, was one-sided by the 49ers. Now, the only bright spot we can talk about is the fact that the 49ers did also struggle against the Cowboys, but the Cowboys were horrible, and I think they're not going to turn it around. They're starting to fall behind in the race for their division, and I think we're going to be talking about the Cowboys having to rebuild, and that's not a good thing to say, especially when you're paying a quarterback $60 million a year, the highest in the league. So they do have a decent roster. It's just they aren't really playing up to standards. So they do have a chance to turn it around. However, they're going to need to do it faster. This season is going to be a waste, and that's not a good thing for what their roster is saying. 21, we have the Bengals down 5 spots. They ended up losing 37-17 to the Eagles. This is a game that I didn't see a whole lot of because I was watching the other games. I live in Cincinnati, if you don't know, so I'm not able to watch them on my Sunday ticket or anything. So all I know is it was a great first half, and then the second half, it was all Eagles. So there's that. I do believe the Bengals would still have a chance because they do have 5 losses, but just like all of the other teams down here I keep praising, they're going to have to do it fast. And same thing with the Bengals, who are playing in one of the tougher divisions. They're going to need to really get lucky if they want a chance to, fight for a playoff spot. Number 20, we have the Rams, who are going up 3 spots. They ended up winning their game against the Vikings, pulling off one of the best upsets ever, 30-20. Now, this is a game where there was a controversial penalty. However, I don't think it would have made much of a difference because the time was running out. I don't believe the Vikings had timeouts. Even with that penalty, it only would have been 15 yards. So they still had to go 70 yards. Now, granted, if there is one team who would pull off that upset or that come from behind, it would be the Vikings because they've done it before, pulling off the largest comeback in history. But we're about the Rams. They went into Thursday Night Football with pretty much their season on the line going against a top-tier team, and they beat them. That's something that we cannot, undershadow. So, Rams, I'm starting to, feel that Puka Nacua being back and Cooper Kupp are really going to boost your team, and I do believe you will be competing for a playoff spot. And thankfully for you, you're in the West, the NFC West, who is 4-4, and you're in the last place because you're 3-4. 19, we have the Colts, who are going up 2 spots. This is a scenario where they played really well against the Texans. It sucks that they ended up losing, but I'm not surprised. We saw it week 1 where they barely fell. We saw it this week where they barely fell. I just don't like Anthony Richardson. I think if we talk about Joe Flacco, we're talking about a whole different team. However, Anthony Richardson, I believe, is holding this team back. So it's kind of one of those weird situations where, do you really want to build your team around Flacco because you're not sold on Richardson? Do you want to give Richardson another shot? It's a weird situation because with the Colts, you're right now competing for playoffs, and you don't have the greatest pick, so you're not going to be able to take a good quarterback this year. So it's kind of one of those where, do you want to give Richardson another shot? Do you want to give Flacco, an extra year? Or do you just want to draft a quarterback later on and hope they turn out? 18, we have the 49ers. They're going to be going up a spot. They pick up a win against the Cowboys. An ugly win, but a win is a win. And there's not much to say about this game. I didn't see a whole lot of it. I just know it was an ugly game. 17, we have the Cardinals staying the same. They pick up a nice win against the Dolphins. And it sucks to have them staying the same, but it's very hard for me to justify this because I personally feel like teams 13 through 17, honestly, we might be able to even go to like 20. I feel like they're all really close to each other in terms of skill level. So I have the Cardinals there for now. However, they could jump up to the top 10 if they, play their cards right and everything falls in place. 16, we have the Seahawks. 4-4. They ended up losing their game, and it wasn't even close as they fell to the Bills. And I predicted it. I knew they weren't going to go ahead and blow out the Falcons and then beat the Bills next week. I was not expecting a blowout. However, I was expecting the Seahawks to lose. So Seahawks, I never know with you guys. You go out and do great one week, do horrible the next. So far, you've won 3, lost 3, won 1, lost 1. I don't know what's going on with you guys. You need to find consistency, whether good or bad, and, just move with it. 15, we have the Chargers going up 3 spots. The Chargers have really turned their season around. It looks like they're finally getting the swing of it as they won 26-8 to the Saints. And they're one of those teams who I do believe will be, competing for a spot come late January or come January. The only downside is the injury concerns because Herbert has been injured a few times this season. I feel like you guys are one injury away from your season being over. So, yeah. 14, we had the Buccaneers down a spot. 13, we had the Falcons up 2 spots. The Falcons ended up winning this game 31-26. I don't know what it is with Kirk Cousins, but this season he's thrown for 9 touchdowns against the Buccaneers. And shout out to the Buccaneers as well, who down their top 2 receivers were still keeping up, only losing by 5 points. I do believe the Buccaneers and Falcons will be... I think the Falcons will probably punch their ticket by January. However, I do believe the Buccaneers will be still competing for that spot come January as well, which says a lot about them with, the injuries they're facing. Number 12, we have the Steelers staying the same. They beat the Giants. It wasn't the greatest win, but a win is a win. They kind of took over in that second half, going from just field goals to putting up touchdowns. And then they allowed the Giants to come back, but they would hold them off. And something I learned is that 2 right feet don't count as 2 feet down because that touchdown should have counted, in my opinion. However, rules are rules, I guess. But I think getting 2 feet down, regardless if it's 1-1 or 2 of the same feet, should count as 2 feet instead of it having to be 1-1. 11, we have the Bears down a spot. If they ended up losing their game off of a Hail Mary, that is so sad. This is one of those where I had the Bears winning because I thought even if Jaden Daniel plays, he isn't going to be at full strength, which is exactly what happened. The Bears did their job, only allowing 18 points. However, the Bears' downfall was only scoring 15. So I do believe the Bears, even though they're 4-3, still do have a great chance of making the playoffs. It just sucks because they're in the best division in football. And it most definitely sucks as well when you're losing to teams like the Commanders off of Hail Marys. You could easily be 5-2 right now. Number 10, we had the Broncos 5-3 up a spot. Nice win over the Panthers 28-14, really 28-7. And the Broncos, I don't know if they're going to continue this way because I feel like the AFC is a second half conference. I mean, you saw how well they did last year. I just don't see a world where the Broncos make the playoffs. And if they do, I don't see a world where they don't get blown out in the first round. So I like you right now, Broncos, and I really hope you keep going, but I just don't see it happening. Number 9, we had the Vikings down 6 spots. They ended up losing to the Rams. Now, granted, they took a safety, which should have been a safety, but also shouldn't, because it was a great play by the defense. However, you can't grab the face mask. That's a play where there are so many refs in that area, a call has to be made. And I do believe a call should have been made, but it didn't, and unfortunately, that's kind of the world we're stuck in. I do believe the Vikings are still one of the best teams, as you can tell by me keeping them at 9. However, that loss to the Rams is really hurting your resume right now because now you went from first place to third place, losing back-to-back games in your division. And that's really not good, especially when you're 5-2 and that's third place. Number 8, we have the Ravens, who are going to be dealing down 4 spots. Another team who shouldn't have lost. This is one where they came back after being down to the Browns pretty much the whole game. Kyle Hamilton drops the game-stealing interception, which allows the Browns to beat them. And unfortunately, you put yourselves in that situation. You catch that ball, that game's over. However, the very next play, I don't know if it was the next play or the one after, you get burnt deep for a touchdown. That's just something that can't happen no matter what team you're on, what team you're playing against. It should not happen. I don't care if it's the division. Ravens, I still think you guys are a great team. I still think you will make the playoffs. I still think you'll be competing for the 1 seed so long as Kansas City, loses games anytime soon. But, being 5-3 with those losses, especially those 2 early on, really hurt. Number 7, we have the Texans staying the same. They got a nice win over the Colts, 23-20, in a game that was, really evenly matched. Because both teams had a great chance at the very end, and the Texans pulled away. And I think the good thing about the Texans is, even when they haven't played their best, they've still managed to put up a 6-2 record. And something they also done is the Colts are 4-4, second place in the division. They have beaten them twice. So if they finish with the same record as the Colts, they'll win. So they have a 2.5 game tiebreaker over second place in their division. So, they have a 3-game lead essentially. Number 6, we had the Bills. I don't really even know if we need to talk about this up 3 spots. You destroyed the Seahawks, and it wasn't even close. So I give you guys credit for that. I do think you guys are, I would say, second or third best team in the AFC. I feel like even though the Ravens take stupid losses, they're up there as well. But, yeah, the Bills, Josh Allen finally throwing an interception, but even then he still looks like an MVP favorite. I do believe the Bills are going to be, the same team they are now come January. And, well, that could be a good thing or that could be a bad thing. I'll let the Bills decide. Number 5, we have the Eagles going up 3 spots. They pick up a nice win against the Bengals, 37-17, in a game that was, a very close first half and then a very bad second half. So, for the Bengals, very good for the Eagles. So the Eagles played 60 minutes of good football, and it showed. And I do believe that now they are finally playing up to their standards that they have, and I do believe they will be a threat to the Commanders, further later on in the season. But that is also a very underrated division, I wouldn't count the Cowboys out, and then you got the Eagles and Commanders right there neck and neck. Number 4, we had the Packers going up 2 spots. They pick up a nice win against the Jaguars. The only concern is Jordan Love did get injured, and the fact that they were still able to win with that shows great character. Shows Malik Willis is one of the best backups in the league, personally. But what does suck is the fact that, you're going to play the Lions next week and Jordan Love might not play. The other thing we need to talk about is the Packers dominated that game. However, the stats or the score isn't going to show it. But that's also a bad thing because the fact that you dominated that game and were only able to win by a field goal isn't good. Number 3, we have the Commanders, who are going to be going up 2 spots. It's a bit ironic that I'm putting them here because they won off of one play. But Jaden Daniels playing while injured, going against the Bears, and winning is very impressive because you're going against probably 2 of the top 5 Rookie of the Year candidates. Daniels versus Williams, first and second overall pick. Low scoring game, and great job by the Commanders ultimately to only allow 15 points. Being able to win while scoring 18 points is a very successful game, in my opinion, because that means you sucked and you're still able to win. So great job there. Number 2, we have the Lions staying the same. Number 1, we have the Chiefs. I want it to be known, I do believe the Lions are better than the Chiefs. However, I will not put the Chiefs down unless they lose a game. I don't see the Lions losing many games either. I do believe these teams will probably both finish around 13-4. But until the Chiefs lose, they're going to stay number 1, even if the Lions play top tier, unless the Chiefs struggle against the Panthers and the Lions dominate the Commanders. But that is going to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed. I did. I will see you guys next time with predictions. Goodbye. Hope you enjoyed.